Working with a similar theme as our last video, in this video we're going to be talking about adding or enhancing existing light direction. So again, we're kind of deepening that last technique just a little bit further. And here's the cool thing. In the past, say year and a half, I've really gotten into fitness, bikini, and boudoir photography. And the reason for it is because I feel like these areas of photography have really honed my posing and lighting skills to a whole nother degree, simply because that's all you have to create your image. All you have is where the light's placed and how you outline and shape the body and the form, and the pose that you actually put the body into. Because we're not dealing with a lot of clothing, we're not dealing with other people in the types of shots where we can use to conceal. So like a regular couples photo, it's fantastic. I love doing engagement photos and wedding photos and all the other types of portraiture that we do. But we always have other things to kind of like pose along with the body. We have clothing, we have another person, we have everything else that kind of plays into that. And so we don't get to practice lighting and pose in such a pure type of way that you do with fitness and bikini and boudoir type photography. So I've really kind of drawn a special affinity to these areas because of that. So I'd highly recommend going out and trying these genres of photography because they're gonna elevate your lighting and your posing skills to a whole nother level. Now with this particular shot, we have our beautiful model Jill, and you might remember her earlier because we did a shot with her in Lighting 101. We actually used this shoot to demonstrate Lighting 101 and Lighting 201 techniques. For this particular shot, we're using the Bolt VB22s with the Profoto RFI Octabox, okay? So you can use that or you can use the Profoto B2s. Either way, totally fine. You guys can go the full feature route or you guys can go the manual route. Either way, we give you both those options. But for this particular scene, we're gonna need a medium strobe. We're gonna need roughly 250 to 300 watt seconds of power to get her adequately bright. Okay, so starting with our process and tips for composition and attributes. Well, I want the background, our rocks and kind of the highlights in the water and everything to have a sort of soft focus to it. I want the bokeh on the water, the sparkles on the water to kind of appear. So what am I thinking? Well, on my Sigma 50mm art, I'm gonna shoot at f2. So that way we're not fully wide open, we're not at 1.4, so we're gonna have a little bit more sharpness, we're gonna see a little bit more depth of field, but we're still gonna have that kind of soft look overall, which is gonna help not only in separating her from the background, but also in kind of giving us soft and silky skin throughout her body. Okay, so that was number one. Number two, sync. We're at f2. This is midday sun. What do we need? Either high-speed sync or a 5-stop neutral density filter. I mean, you could get away with 4 stops too. You need 5 stops if you're 1.4. Since we're at f2, you're gonna need at least 4 stops. But either way, we have a 5-stop ND on there to cut down our ambient light exposure so that we can bring our sync speed down. So what do we end up with the ambient exposure? Well, we're exposing bright, okay? Again, I want this to have a sort of editorial lifestyle kind of feel to it. I don't want to darken this down where it looks like it's a depressing day. I want it to look happy. I want it to look like a bikini shoot should kind of look, with that beautiful, bright and airy kind of look. So we're leaving that exposure fairly bright. And what you can see here is with ambient light only. So these are ambient light only shots. We're at 1/200 of a second at f2 and ISO 100. We're at 5800 degrees Kelvin and 5-stop for our neutral density filter. Okay, so we kept that the same through all the shots. The only difference between these ones is that's where we have added our light or added our flash. So you can see on the left side that we're giving this scene a very bright and beautiful natural look to it. I'm not minding that some of my highlights are blowing out. That's totally okay. Again, shoot with intent and purpose, not with technical stuff on your mind, okay? The technical stuff is just to help you to get to the desired result, nothing more. Light direction and quality. Now this is where I want to analyze this shot because we're adding and enhancing existing light direction, right? So when I pop off my test shots, which is these guys, I'm looking at where the existing light direction is. What I'm doing is I'm either adding to that existing light direction or enhancing it, okay? What I mean by enhancing is that we're following that kind of existing natural light direction, but we might be amplifying its brightness. We might be enhancing it by making it more soft and giving it a better diffusion. So that's kind of what we're doing. We're following these natural kind of rules that this scene is giving us and adding and enhancing the existing light. That way we're gonna get to a beautiful and natural result. Now, we're gonna get to pose in just a second, but there's a very specific reason why I have her posed the way I do. Let's finish talking about our light direction and quality. So we have our 2 VB22s in our RFI softbox. Again, we need about 250 to 300 watt seconds of power. So either the B2 at full power or the 2 Bolt VB22s at like half to a quarter power should be adequate. Again, it's all going to depend on how far you have that softbox from your model. I have the softbox currently boomed out on a monopod and it's held fairly close to the subject. So we're not running, or we don't need to run at full power. Okay, so what are we doing? We're lighting from, you can see that existing direct right there. So the softbox is placed right here. And what it's doing from this image to this image, you can see that we're following existing light, but we're enhancing it. We're adding light, so we're amplifying that existing light, and we're giving it a beautiful quality. We're enhancing the quality of it and allowing it to wrap around her body just a little bit more. But we're preserving the natural shadow that was already in that scene, right? So we get this beautiful kind of overall natural look. So again, take that ambient light shot and study it and look at it. Take your test shot. Look at where the light is and where you want to kind of add your additional light to it. Light color, again, this is a scene that I love to keep warm and beautiful at 5,800 to 6,500 degrees Kelvin is a perfect look for this kind of a scene. I chose, you know, kind of the cooler end of that range, but you can choose really whatever you like based on the colors that you want to go for. So 5,800 degrees Kelvin was great. I didn't need to do any gelling or anything like that, of course. When we get onto our pose, frame and shoot, right? So watch this. Watch this. Let me tell you something. Whatever. I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. So what I did here was, knowing that I want to highlight her form and her figure, I placed her basically facing away from, so basically the sun is directly behind her, right? She's facing essentially the sky that's kind of in front of her. So her side, her right side, is what is etched out by the sun. So look at the rim light. Do you see the rim light, how it catches her knee and her leg right there? And how it goes up, and we get a highlight right on her hair and kind of back, and we get this little edge light on her arm and on her back right here and on the other leg. That's exactly what we're trying to create. Now, you're only gonna see those areas of highlight when you place those areas in front of something that's darker, okay? What that means is we can't see the rim that's around her body when it comes to the highlights in the sky. See where her chest is all the way up to her head and hair? We can't see much there because, well, the sky is so bright in and of itself. So what did I do with the framing of this? I shot a little bit top down. I'm okay with leaving, you know, her body and her chest and head is already in front of the brightest area of the scene. So it's already kind of drawing attention into that part. What I wanted to make sure was that her leg didn't fall into that same bright area of sky. And if I shot it from her height, it most likely would have. So I got up a little bit higher when I was framing the shot to shoot down on her, so that way I could place the darker rocks right there behind her leg. And then you get that form and that silhouette drawn out in that shot. So that is light number one in the scene. Light number two is to simply add and enhance the existing light that we see right here on her shape, on her form. We're adding it in a way that it just creates a beautiful soft wrap around the legs. If we were to put a flat light in the scene, we would kill every bit of her form and her shape and so forth. If we were to light at a more, you know, angle that's closer to where the camera's coming from, we would lose all that. We'd lose all the looks and the part that makes everything about this beautiful. So what we've done here is we have two shots. One shot where I've angled her chin towards me, chin's back, kind of looking down at the camera. It shows kind of a sense of, I don't want to say cockiness, it's more like a sense of power when our chin is up and looking down. I mean, that's what it essentially means, right? When you have your nose up in the air, we always say like, oh, he's stuck up, right? He's got his nose up. But it basically, in a picture, it signifies that kind of power and presence and domineering effect over the camera. So we have one shot with her turned towards us. We get this beautiful Rembrandt light pattern on her face. I have one shot where she just looks straight ahead, where again, we're allowing the viewer now to not focus on her eyes and her face, but just on her form and her figure. Okay? As far as the pose goes, remember the triangle thing, right? We have one leg up, we have one leg down, we have the arm right here, we have all these different triangles and different things we're creating, and every part of the body is doing something different. I don't have both arms in the same place. I don't have both legs in the same place. I'm using those features on her to create that form and that kind of elegance to it. I'm having her arch her back so it kind of sticks her back out and creates that curvature in her spine that works so well in kind of bringing out her figure and bringing out her butt and everything like that and making it look sexy and curvy and so forth. Okay. So analyze the scene. Again, when we have the existing light kind of there, we can use it to give us an example of as a kind of modeling light, right? So I can look at this shot and just make sure that with the existing light, there's no shadows and everything in unwanted places. And when I just amplify that light, I should be good to go because I've used the existing light as our modeling light to kind of set us up. Once we have everything set up, again, my tip is to always use different camera angles, switch out your lenses, get up high, shoot top down. One of my favorite shots in this scene was when I got up high on a different rock and I shot straight top down on her. And we had this beautiful look where we kind of feature the necklace and the bikini, and we have her looking up towards the camera. All we have to do now is just Photoshop out these little lights, the little highlights from our octabox and everything, which we'd have to do in the other shots too. But you can see how beautiful these images are just directly out of our camera. So what have we done in this series? We have created a beautiful, natural kind of look to the image. It's a very bright and airy lifestyle look. We've used our flash to amplify and to enhance the light quality of the existing fill light that we saw in our body, while also using the existing sunlight as our secondary light to basically reveal and bring out our form, okay? Hopefully you all enjoyed this tutorial. We're done, so let's head out to the next video now.